Namaskar, Jai Shri Krishna. Enlightening, text 17, text 18, text 19 and text 20 of chapter 1. Questions by the sages of first Canto, creation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 17. Tasya karman yadurani parigitani suribhiha bruhinah shraddhananam leelaya dadhatah kalah. His transcendental acts are magnificent and gracious, and great learned sages like Narad sing of them. Please therefore speak to us, who are eager to hear about the adventures he performs in his various incarnations. The personality of Godhead is never inactive, as some less intelligent persons suggest. His works are magnificent and magnanimous. His creations, both material and spiritual, are all wonderful and contain all variegatedness. They are described nicely by such liberated souls as Shri Narad, Vyasa, Valmiki, Devala, Asita, Madhava, Shri Chaitanya, Ramanuja, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarka, Sridhara, Vishwanath, Baladev, Bhaktivinoda, Siddhanta Saraswati, and many other learned and self-realized souls. These creations, both material and spiritual, are full of opulence, beauty and knowledge. But the spiritual realm is more magnificent due to its being full of knowledge, bliss and eternity. The material creations are manifested for some time as perverted shadows of the spiritual kingdom and can be likened to cinemas. They attract people of less intelligent caliber who are attracted by false things. Such foolish men have no information of the reality, and they take it for granted that the false material manifestation is the all in all. But more intelligent men, guided by sages like Narad and Vyasa, know that the eternal kingdom of God is more delightful, larger and eternally full of bliss and knowledge. Those who are not conversant with the activities of the Lord and his transcendental realm is sometimes favored by the Lord in his adventures as incarnations wherein he displays the eternal bliss of his association in the transcendental realm. By such activities, he attracts the conditioned souls of the material world. Some of these conditioned souls are engaged in the false enjoyment of material senses, and others in simply negating their real life in the spiritual world. These less intelligent persons are known as karmis or fruitive workers, and jnanis or dry mental speculators. But above these two classes of men is the transcendentalist, known as Sakvata or the devotee, who is busy neither with rampant material activity nor with material speculation. He is engaged in the positive service of the Lord, and thereby he derives the highest spiritual benefit, unknown to the karmis and jnanis. As the supreme controller of both the material and spiritual worlds, the Lord has different incarnations of unlimited categories. Incarnations like Brahma, Rudra, Manu, Pruthu and Vyasa are his material qualitative incarnations, but his incarnations like Ram, Narasimha, Varaha and Vaman are his transcendental incarnations. Lord Shri Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations, and he is therefore the cause of all causes. Text 18. Atha khyahi Hare dhimana navtara kathaha shubhaha leela vidadhatah svairameshwara syatma mayaya. O wise sooth, please narrate to us the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Godhead's multi-incarnations. Such auspicious adventures and pastimes of the Lord, the Supreme Controller, are performed by his internal powers. For the creation, maintenance and destruction of the material worlds, the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead himself, appears in many thousands of forms of incarnations, and the specific adventures found in those transcendental forms are all auspicious. But those who are present during such activities and those who hear the transcendental narrations of such activities are benefited. Text 19. Vayam tu na Vitrupyam Uttam Shloka Vikrame Yacha Shrunavatam Rasa Jnanam Swadu Swadu Pade Pade. We never tire of hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Personality of Godhead, who is glorified by hymns and prayers. Those who have developed a taste for transcendental relationships with him relish hearing of his pastimes at every moment. There is a great difference between mundane stories, fiction or history and the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The histories of the whole universe contain references to the pastimes of the incarnations of the Lord. The Ramayana, the Mahabharata and the Puranas are histories of bygone ages recorded in connection with the pastimes of the incarnations of the Lord and therefore remain fresh even after repeated readings. For example, anyone may read Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam throughout his whole life and yet find in them new light of information. Mundane news is static, whereas transcendental news is dynamic, in as much as the spirit is dynamic and matter is static. Those who have developed a taste for understanding the transcendental subject matter are never tired of hearing such narrations. One is quickly satiated by mundane activities, but no one is satiated by transcendental or devotional activities. Uttam Shlok indicates that literature which is not meant for nescience. Mundane literature is in the mode of darkness or ignorance, whereas transcendental literature is quite different. Transcendental literature is above the mode of darkness and its light becomes more luminous with progressive reading and realization of the transcendental subject matter. The so-called liberated persons are never satisfied by the repetition of the words Aham Brahmasmi. Such artificial realization of Brahma becomes hackneyed and so to relish real pleasure they turn to the narrations of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who are not so fortunate turn to altruism and worldly philanthropy. This means the Mayavadi philosophy is mundane, whereas the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental. Text 20. Kritavana kila karmani saha ramena keshavaha atimartyani bhagwan gudhaha kapat manushaha. Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, along with Balram, played like a human being and so masked he performed many superhuman acts. The doctrines of anthropomorphism and zoomorphism are never applied to Shri Krishna or the personality of Godhead. The theory that a man becomes God by dint of penance and austerities is very much rampant nowadays, especially in India. Since Lord Ram, Lord Krishna and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were detected by the sages and saints to be the personality of Godhead, as indicated in revealed scriptures, many unscrupulous men have created their own incarnations. This process of concocting an incarnation of God has become an ordinary business, especially in Bengal. Any popular personality with a few traits of mystic powers will display some feat of jugglery and easily become an incarnation of God by popular vote. Lord Shri Krishna was not that type of incarnation. He was actually the personality of Godhead from the very beginning of his appearance. He appeared before his so-called mother as four-armed Vishnu. Then at the request of the mother, he became like a human child and at once left for another devotee at Gokul, where he was accepted as the son of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mata. Similarly, Shri Baldev, the counterpart of Lord Shri Krishna, was also considered a human child born of another wife of Shri Vasudevaya. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that his birth and deeds are transcendental and that anyone who is so fortunate as to know the transcendental nature of his birth and deeds will at once become liberated and eligible to return to the kingdom of God. So knowledge of the transcendental nature of the birth and deeds of Lord Shri Krishna is sufficient for liberation. In the Bhagavatam, the transcendental nature of the Lord is described in 9 cantos and in the 10th canto, his specific pastimes are taken up. All this becomes known as one's reading of this literature progresses. It is important to note here, however, that the Lord exhibited his divinity even from the lap of his mother. That his deeds are all superhuman. He lifted Govardhan Hill at the age of 7 and that all these acts definitely prove him to be actually the supreme personality of Godhead. Yet due to his mystic covering, he was always accepted as an ordinary child by his so-called father and mother and other relatives. Whenever some Herculean task was performed by him, the father and mother took it otherwise, and they remained satisfied with unflinching filial love for their son. As such, the sages of Naimisharanya describe him as apparently resembling a human being, but actually he is the supreme almighty personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.